Welcome, everybody, to a Delco Nerd Network hot take. If you haven't seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement, give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a game, and that game is Still Wakes the Deep. Here to discuss, as always, the triple threat, Chris Trio.
Gooch, I wish I knew some... it's not Celtic that they're speaking in this. Gaelic. I wish I knew some Gaelic, or else I'd come right in with it. But yeah, man, I'm excited to talk about this. I haven't played it in like 2 weeks. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But this game released on Game Pass and just, the general audiences, I think at the beginning of last month. I can't remember specifically.
Something like that, I guess.
It is a new horror game from the Chinese Room, who did a few other games, including
My least favorite Amnesia game.
Right.
Amnesia, Machine for Pigs.
What's the Rapture one, too? Everybody's gone to the Rapture.
Yeah.
And it's funny because looking back, it makes sense. That's definitely my least favorite Amnesia game too. But
I hate that game.
I enjoyed replaying it the last time I played it. It definitely doesn't have all of the like survival elements that the other ones do. But I remember enjoying the story enough. Definitely more walking simulatory than even the original Amnesia when it comes to the Chinese Room. But especially even this game. Definitely a horror game. Walking sim, I think, is a very fair way to put it.
Yeah.
There's a bit of running and hiding in it for sure. But for the most part, you're just kind of walking through these scripted events and going and solving different puzzles and things.
And, to preface, I haven't played this game. True is leading the hot take on this one. It's not like Amnesia where you're running and hiding from monsters. You are just walking.
There's like 2 points where you do run, like hide from a monster while you're trying to do something and like it's going around the room and you have to avoid it. But that doesn't happen that often.
The gameplay is puzzles?
Yes. There's a few puzzles here and there that, you have to get something started. They're not super in-depth. They're not incredibly hard to figure out. But, very simmy in that regard. You have to like pull levers and valves. So...
Yeah,
basic story.
Take us from the beginning. Yeah, please.
Basic story of this: you play a gentleman by the name of Kaz he is a Irish gentleman who seems to have fled the mainland after a crime, who is working on this rig, an oil rig, as an electrician, as a lecky, as he says. A lot of Gaelic in this, which is cool.
Yeah.
They very much use it in the way that like the Assassin's Creed games use it. Like they'll say a Gaelic word in between English and things like that.
Yeah, I know you can play the game in Gaelic.
I was going to say you can play it fully in Gaelic.
Yeah.
You get a call from the foreman. Apparently the police showed up and knew you were there. And you were now getting fired.
It's like modern times?
Yeah, contemporary, it seems. Actually, no. It might be the like 80s or 90s.
Okay.
Because you see some old... You get flashbacks to his home and like his house, and it doesn't look like contemporary. It definitely looks more like in the 80s or 90s type area with like the technology you see around and stuff like that. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But anywho, you get that news and you're like, fuck. And then as you're getting that news, the foreman gets a call on the line. He's like, hey, we hit something really weird down here at the drill room. We don't think we should. And he's like, just fucking drill through it. I don't give a fuck. Terrible asshole foreman. And then you get told you're fired. You walk out and all of a sudden shit starts hitting the fan. Like you don't know what's going on. There's this big crash. These weird kind of like organic, like almost like, I'm trying to think of how to compare it. It's like marine organic type thing, like starts growing through the station and starts turning people into these like almost thing style monsters that are like these just disgusting globs of like flesh and like, I don't even know how else to describe it. Just awful looking things that like, when people like mesh together in those types of movies and things like that. And you're just kind of trying to get off the station and you find some fellow survivors and the kind of night rolls on. You're trying to fix the rig to keep it up in time for people to make it to you. But yeah, mostly it's about the story and like kind of his journey. He's dealing with a lot of this psychological stuff and he's having all these weird flashbacks, like whatever's going on is affecting him. And you see these flashbacks to his wife and he keeps hearing his wife and it seems to be affecting everyone on the station differently. But it's a very interesting story. It's kind of tough to talk about from a gameplay perspective, like I said, just because there's not a ton going on.
So the narrative is the focus here.
The narrative is definitely the focus.
Yeah.
It's probably about
just like a
5-hour game. Definitely.
But so let me question you about this because I know you didn't finish Hellblade, but you didn't really like it. Like, what's the difference between the two?
It felt like I was doing more. It didn't feel like I was just walking as much, which I probably was, but I don't know why. The environment made it more interesting to me. The story, the mystery of what was happening just seemed a bit more intriguing. It felt like I wasn't like lingering on things like Hellblade, that when I'm just walking up to the gate, felt like it took
7 hours.
7 hours.
Yeah,
like whereas
the length
this,
of the game, yeah.
it feels like there's kind of much more going on, much more to look at. The detail in the environment's great. Game looks awesome. I think it even looks almost real at some points with the film grain until you see like people. Like if you just took a picture of like the inside of a cab of, I don't know, an operating room, it almost looks like a real picture. It's kind of wild. I think it's done in Unreal 5. But, when you get to character models, you can definitely see that it's more video gamey. But the design of, like, the creatures and, like, this amorphous kind of blob that's taking over the station, you never find out what it is. I will spoil that. It's definitely kind of leaves you to your own thoughts about how you're thinking it's ending.
Okay.
Which I appreciated, actually. I didn't necessarily need this is what it is. It definitely felt very...
let me write this out for you, right?
It definitely felt very Cthulhu-y inspired, for sure thing inspired. And even, it's funny, I didn't really put 2 and 2 together, but it obviously is. Very much Soma-ish in that regard. Because Soma is even... definitely takes hints from the thing and stuff like that. That's definitely more biomechanical in that.
Yeah, and I mean,
this
I remember
more organic.
Soma, like, you hide from monsters in that, right?
You do.
I'm just trying to remember, like, how like Amnesia: The Dark Descent it is. I know it's from the same devs, but I feel like I remember there being, like, less monsters.
There's less survival aspects for sure.
Right.
And you're not worried about being in the dark or like a lamp or anything like that.
Right, or
really.
your insanity.
But you are worried about, dodging a monster while you're completing a puzzle, stuff like that. You know what I mean? In Soma, but in this, it is much more. You're walking from point A to point B. You talk to some people. You get some more story beats. They tell you to go. We need you to go down to the flotation things and reactivate it. But you're not running from things most. There's 1 or 2 points where you have to run from a monster, like those kind of classic Amnesia things where you're down a hallway and you got to make it to the end before the thing gets you. But yeah, overall, it's mostly walking and experiencing the story. I do think it's an interesting story and setting that I don't see often, or people I wouldn't say see very often in general. Seeing that kind of Gaelic representation was interesting too. Culture I don't know much about.
Sure.
Would love to go through maybe again and play it in Gaelic. I don't know how different it would be. I don't know if I'd really necessarily want to go back and play this at some point. Maybe I will. I mean, I still go back and replay other games.
I was going to ask about that. Did you look at the achievement or trophy list?
I actually didn't have the chance.
What's kind of like involved in it?
I don't think it's very involved from what I was getting a bunch of achievements from just doing things. I do think there's stuff for like audio logs. Not audio logs. You can find like reports and stuff, I think.
Right, collectibles.
There's also phones you can answer that have like different people on them, that some are you need to pick up to talk to people to advance the story. Others you can miss, apparently. Now that I'm remembering, I did take a peek at the achievements just to see kind of what I was missing, but it seems stuff like that you would have to go back and get.
Do you think this game is going to be talked about at the end of the year for game awards of any sort, like maybe narrative or sound design, things like that?
I think it'll be talked about in the same way probably whoever, like we've gone to the Rapture or whatever is talked about and things like that. I think it's a very well done, interestingly put together story for sure. But, I don't think you're going to write home about this. This is definitely a game for a certain type of person. Not everyone's going to like it, I think. If you're a horror person, I think you'll enjoy it, especially if you enjoy those type of Amnesia games and things like that. But again, I do think Amnesia has more involved for sure in it. It's definitely longer, and there's definitely more puzzles that I think make you think more. These ones are definitely more straightforward.
We're comparing it to all, like most of the Amnesia games?
I would say even all of them. More even, I guess, The Dark Descent, I would even say.
Right. I mean, hey, Rebirth and The Bunker have a lot going on. It's like in terms of like evading monsters and like picking things up. And,
I think
it does feel more gamey than say like for me Hellblade 2.
No, for sure. And even like Rebirth, I think The Bunker feels way more gamey even than Rebirth. Because looking back, I remember being like, I don't even think you can die in Rebirth and things like that. And there's not really there's like the sanity thing kind of. You just like wake up. I remember we were talking about it in our review. I was like, can you even really die in this? There were certain choices in that I didn't really love that I think they retroactively went back and took care of in Bunker, but that's a different podcast. But you can definitely see where the Chinese room wants to settle when it comes to how they make games. They like these walking simulator-ish type styled games, and they seem to do them well. And I think that allows them to focus on the narrative, which they seem to care about a little bit more, which isn't a bad thing. And I think that's just, a choice some developers make. I mean, I think that's a choice developers made when it came to the Telltale games, even. The story is the king there, whereas the gameplay really isn't. But I would highly recommend this game. If you enjoy horror games and you don't mind a walking simulator, and you have Game Pass, for sure. And I mean, I don't know how much it is by itself.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask.
I'm actually going to look it up. I would guess even
40?
20. No, if it's 40, I would be surprised, but maybe it is. Still Wakes the Deep. Let's see. I would guess 30. That would have to be my best guess. Come on, price. Where's the shopping? Shopping. Where can I buy it? There we go. 34. Okay.
Okay.
But no, it's 60
Close.
bucks. Hold on. Okay, I think it's 40. I think it is 40.
Okay.
It's 35 at GameStop, which I don't know if I'd say buy this for 35 bucks.
Okay.
I'd say go in if you see it on sale for 20 or you can play it on Game Pass, done deal. Definitely pick up.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it before we started the podcast. I wanted to play this game, and I knew it was kind of short. I just really didn't have the time. We have, we're in the middle of doing our next re3. I guess that's the first time we've talked about that. Yeah. But yeah, we're doing that. And
if you've been in the Discord, you probably can guess what it is.
We haven't really talked about it.
No, it's true. That is true.
I've been kind of meaning to should I just start talking about this? Or
I think it really doesn't matter. I guess we can probably announce it once we get the first one in the bag, but I don't know. I guess we can say it if we really wanted to, but we don't have to make that decision right now. I don't really care either way.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about it in a little Discord, but anyway. Yeah. So there's just been, Shadow of the Erdtree came out, and I'm just like, I'm playing a lot. I don't really, and I didn't want to throw the money at it right now either, especially a game that I've been hearing great things about, not from you, or not just from you, but Lore Cognito from Defining Duke has been talking about it a bunch, or he did when he was playing it a few weeks ago. So it does seem like it's getting some buzz and some positive buzz. At that, so it's good to hear that you follow suit with that.
No,
opinion.
Absolutely, man. And I don't know, would I pick this up for $40 if I saw it at first? Probably not. To be honest,
so the Game Pass.
I think the Game Pass really kind of was the pull the trigger. At least I would have I probably would have played it eventually, but I would have waited until it was on sale. Right. Probably, especially after hearing it's only a 5-hour game for $40. That does feel like a tall entry in my opinion. And hey, charge whatever you want for a game. I appreciate that they at least went down to 40. But yeah, that's definitely where my head would be at.
Cool, man.
But yeah, I think that's kind of it, Gooch. A little bit of a shorter one here, but goes along with a shorter game. So what are you going to do? But thank you all for watching with us. If you've been with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network, we really appreciate your time. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network on your favorite platform of choice. We're on all your favorite social medias as well, at Delco Nerds on everything with an @ sign. We got a Facebook page, Discord channel, all that good stuff will be linked down below. You can even email us your comments, questions, or concerns to delconerds@gmail.com. We'd be happy to get back to you. You can find all this information as well on our website, delconerdnetwork.com. But for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.
Right.